This is the story of a boy named Shin, a boy who carried an extraordinary gift, or perhaps a curse. From a young age, Shin discovered that he could see when and how people would die. But how did he gain such a terrifying power? To understand that, let's begin where his story truly started. The film opens with chaos, an airplane crash. The massive aircraft had fallen from the sky, scattering metal, luggage, and broken bodies across a barren field. Flames burned, smoke choked the air, and the cries of the injured echoed in the distance. The number of dead was in the hundreds. But in this sea of destruction, one tiny survivor moved through the wreckage, a young boy, Shin. Bloodied, frightened, but alive. He called out desperately for his parents, searching for any sign of them among the twisted wreckage. But there was nothing. His heart already knew the truth. They were gone. Then, through the smoke, Shin heard another voice. A young girl, pinned under debris, cried out to him, "Help me. Please help." Shin wanted to help, but he was only a small child. Terrified, confused, helpless. And then, before his eyes, a huge piece of the plane collapsed onto the girl. The screen cuts away, leaving her fate uncertain. Years pass. Shin has grown into a quiet young man, working at a small car garage in the city. Though life was hard, the garage owner had always treated him like a son. To Shin, this man was the closest thing to family left in the world. And in him, Shin often saw the reflection of the father he had lost. The owner dreamed of opening a second garage and wanted Shin to manage it. But Shin, weighed down by self-doubt, refused the offer. He didn't believe he was ready for such responsibility. The owner's daughter, who admired Shin deeply, also tried to convince him. She believed he was the perfect choice. But not everyone in the garage shared this respect. Another worker there carried deep jealousy. He hated how Shin was favored in every matter and often expressed his anger through bullying. On one such day, the worker shoved Shin aside, causing Shin's phone to break. That night, Shin took his broken phone to a repair shop. There, he met a young woman named Ao. She was skilled, kind, and managed to fix his old model phone despite the difficulty of finding parts. Their interaction was short, but it left an impression on Shin. Later that night, as he lay in bed scrolling through his phone, he found himself thinking about her. The next morning, Shin boarded the metro to work. As he stood among the passengers, he noticed something horrifying. The hands of a man standing beside him began fading, as if turning into smoke. Shin's eyes widened, and then he understood. Ever since the crash, Shin had gained a strange ability to see people's fates. The fading hands were a warning. That man's death was coming, but Shin could do nothing. Powerless, he went about his day, while the owner's daughter once again urged him to accept the manager's position. Shin gave no clear answer. Later, passing by Ao's store again, Shin's eyes instinctively searched for her. But fate had other plans. That night, as he walked home, he accidentally collided with a young woman on the street. To his horror, her body began fading just like the man's. He followed her, desperate to understand what was about to happen. Moments later, a speeding car tore through the street, slamming into her. She was thrown violently to the ground. Shin stood frozen, devastated. He had seen it coming, yet had done nothing to stop it. The next day, still shaken, Shin asked the owner's daughter a haunting question. If you had the power to see someone's future, to know exactly when they'll die, what would you do? Without hesitation, she answered, "That's not a power. That's a curse, and I'd never want it." Her words cut deep. Soon after, Shin's phone broke again. He returned to Ao's shop, but this time, when he looked at her, his heart froze. Ao's hands were fading. Terrified of losing her too, Shin decided to act. He invited her to meet him after work. At first hesitant, Ao agreed. They met at a cafe, and to Shin's relief, her hands appeared normal again. The curse had lifted for now. Shin longed to tell her the truth, to confess his strange ability. But fear held him back. Would she believe him, or think he was insane? He only managed to whisper an apology before leaving. That night, Shin collapsed with a sharp pain in his chest. His vision blurred, his body weak. He barely made it home. The next morning, Shin resolved to stop running. With new determination, he told the garage owner he was ready to become the new manager. He worked late that night, pouring everything into his responsibilities. But destiny was not finished with him. Ao appeared at the garage unexpectedly. She told Shin she had something important to share. Sitting across from him, she placed a newspaper on the table. It reported a deadly attack near her route home the previous night. If she had walked that way, she would have died. Her voice trembled as she admitted, "You saved me." Though Shin only smiled faintly, in his heart he knew it was true. One day, chaos erupted at the garage. The jealous worker, reckless and angry, had taken a customer's car without permission. The owner confronted him, but the argument spiraled out of control. In the heat of the moment, the worker lashed out at Shin and the owner defended him. But when the dust settled, Shin noticed something horrifying. The owner's hands were fading. The man who had raised him like a father was marked for death. Shin refused to accept this fate. He invited the owner to dinner that evening. As they walked together, Shin stayed alert, watching every shadow. And then it happened. From the darkness, the jealous worker lunged with an iron rod, ready to strike. In that moment, Shin stepped forward. The blow meant for the owner struck Shin instead. The owner lived, but Shin collapsed from another heart attack, his body finally giving in to the strain. Shin awoke in a hospital. Beside him, the owner's daughter reassured him that her father had forgiven the worker, who confessed everything. But Shin's world was about to change again. As he lay in bed, Shin noticed a little girl in the hallway, her body fading just like the others. Alarmed, he tried to follow her, but a doctor stopped him. The doctor looked at Shin with knowing eyes. "You saw her, didn't you?" On the hospital roof, the doctor revealed the truth. He too carried the same ability. It had a name, Fortuna. The doctor explained, "We are not gods. We have no right to change fate. If you try to alter destiny, it will come back to punish you. That is why your heart is failing. Every time you interfere, you pay the price." The warning haunted Shin, but even warnings cannot stop love. Soon after, Shin confessed his feelings to Ao and asked her to marry him. Though she left without answering, the next day she agreed. Their love grew, and for the first time in years, Shin felt hope. He even helped the jealous worker return to the garage, forgiving him. Slowly, life seemed to stabilize. But fate had one final trial. One day, Shin noticed children and their teacher fading. He discovered they were scheduled to take a train trip the next morning. A vision struck him. The train would crash. And Ao also took that same train every day. Shin begged her to come with him on a 3-day trip, hoping to keep her away from danger. She reluctantly agreed. But the next morning, she texted him. Her co-worker had fallen sick, and she had to cover the shop. She boarded the train. Shin's blood ran cold. He rushed to the station, but the police were waiting. The teacher had filed a complaint, misunderstanding his desperation. Shin escaped, sprinting through the streets, desperate to save Ao. By the time he reached the station, the train had already departed, with Ao inside. Racing ahead by taxi, Shin reached the next stop. There, he saw construction equipment looming dangerously over the tracks. He realized what was about to happen. The machinery would collapse onto the train. As the train approached, Shin ran onto the tracks, holding a smoke candle high. He waved frantically. The driver slammed the brakes. The train screeched to a halt, saving everyone aboard. Ao rushed out, searching for Shin. She found him sitting on the tracks, weak but alive, for only a moment. Then his body went limp. His heart had given out completely. Shin had saved them all, but at the cost of his own life. At his funeral, Ao wept bitterly. Only then did she learn the truth, that she was the girl from the plane crash, the one who had cried out for help. Shin had saved her all those years ago, though his memory had buried the moment in trauma. She realized she had always been tied to Shin's fate. She even remembered seeing his body fade when he begged her not to board the train. That was why she had chosen to ride, hoping to save him instead. In the end, Shin's sacrifice gave life to her, to the children, and to countless others. As Ao read the letter Shin had written for her, she placed the rings he had made onto her fingers, feeling his presence one last time. And with tears streaming down her face, the story comes to end.